Hello, welcome back. I have coming up next Dr. Alan Kritz, a student of Rabbi Yaakov Wolbe. And I'm so delighted he's going to be coming on. Bring him on with me, rabbis. I'm looking forward to speaking with Alan.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great.
Doctor, it's a pleasure to talk with you, and I appreciate you coming on.
You're very welcome. I'm extremely happy to be here.
So I just, the whole idea here, the whole reason I wanted to put this together was I thought, who better to speak about the benefit of Torch to the world than us students? Because we're the beneficiaries of what they do. And I wanted you to just sort of share, to start with, how you came into contact with Torch.
So it's interesting. It was actually my son. So my son was studying law at Charlottesville, and when he was going back and forth to our house in Raleigh, it was about a 4-hour trip, and he listened to a couple of the rabbis' podcasts, and he said these were history podcasts, and he knows of history, so he said, "Dad, you should really listen to this." It just so happened that I had a 10-hour trip up to some family in New York, and I listened to probably 12 to 14 of his podcasts between the trip up there and the trip back, and I got hooked.
It's very easy to do so. And that was when I used to have to travel more for work, those road trips became a lot shorter when you had the Rabbi Wolbe podcast plugged in, lined up, ready to go. But something happened over time because you guys connected. How did that come about?
Yeah, so I was enjoying his podcast so much, initially mostly the history podcast, because that's an area of interest, but I was also interested in some of the other podcasts and started listening to them. And I said, let me just contact him to thank him for putting this information out and figure out I wanted to send him a donation. So I sent him an email. He emailed me back within a day or two, let's talk. So he called me a few days later, and we chatted for about 30 minutes.
And it's my understanding you guys speak quite frequently now. I think you do some studying together. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have been studying every other week for, I think, probably 3 years, maybe 2 to 3 years. We've been working our way slowly through a Deuteronomy.
Amazing. And tell for everyone to hear, like, the impact that has had being able to, on you, to be able to learn Torah one-on-one with such a Torah scholar as Rabbi Yaakov Wolbe. And I'd like you to sort of share what that's been like and what it's meant to you as a result.
Yeah, my life, so I grew up Jewish, conservative, but most of my education stopped at age 13. I've been studying for the last 15 years with a bunch of different sources. But I really began to get a handle on Judaism in a lot of different ways from studying with Rabbi Wolbe. Really a much deeper view of Jewish philosophy, Jewish history, and also the Torah. So literally the Parshas are becoming familiar to me after studying with him year after year. So it really has changed my life. And what started as an intellectual exercise has become a spiritual exercise.
Beautiful. And that is your stories is so similar to so many Jews, where we're young, we're preparing for the big day, our bar mitzvah, our bat mitzvah. We have the party, and then we're 12 or 13 years old, and we're like, okay, that's it, we're done. And then our knowledge of Torah is from the perspective of a child and young person. And when you come back to it later on through the perspective of a more mature adult and start reading and studying Torah, and I'll ask you, but for me, it took on a much different light as a result. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, dramatically different. I remember my grandfather used to say, Judaism is not for kids. And unfortunately, I hate to say in the non-Orthodox world, that is how it's treated for most of the country. Now, my wife is an educated Reform Jew, and she's been studying a lot over the last few years, so I don't want to generalize, but I could certainly say that what you said is true. The Jewish education in the United States for non-Orthodox, most of it tends to stop after 13 or maybe after 18. So yeah, anything that a lot of the things that I value, I've learned as an adult. So to be able to learn about this in my this deep into Judaism, to study it in my 40s and 50s has been tremendous.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, at that age of maturity of 12, 13 years old, that's when our minds are really now ready to begin delving into Torah, and many of us stop. And I found that one of the biggest influences that we can have on our kids is when they see us dedicated to Torah learning. You know, my daughter always sees me studying. That makes her have interest in it. You know, I just found out, like, she would see us on Shabbos, my wife and I go to a Tanya study. And then I found out now she is going to a Tanya study with her friends. I had no idea. She's like, yeah, wow. I'm now, because they see that. I mean, the best way to parent is through example. Wanted to sort of wrap up anything else you want to share, but if you were, you know, because we're here together live, reason, anything else you want to share with the world on why people listening should be supporting this organization?
Yeah, I think the amount of Jewish information that has been disseminated all over the world in a very easy to listen to way by this organization has been profound. I mean, certainly there are other groups like Chabad who really spend a lot of time with education, but in the non-Chabad world, and I've participated in it and still do, but in the non-Chabad world, I've never seen anything like this in terms of outreach and the quality and the quantity of the information that they can pull from all levels of, you know, Talmud and Mishnah. It's just fantastic. I mean, it really opens up this world to us who are not as, I can't sit down and read Talmud. So he's opened up this world to us, and I think he and the organization. So I think it has been profoundly important.
Thank you so much. Let me ask you this: has your son started studying 101 with any of the rabbis here?
He has not. My son has had a very interesting Jewish journey, and he's quite involved, but he's not studying. He's not studying with the rabbis, but he's quite involved. He's he's a huge Israel advocate and is educating himself. He's a couple of decades ahead of where I was when I was 26. So he's done really great things. And my daughter, interestingly, is teaching now. She's working at a day school. She's a social worker at a day school. So she has that influence also, which is great.
Beautiful. Well, we recently started the Torch Plus, since Rabbi Yokov Wolbe is, his calendar got so packed. So we have new staff. So if you know of anyone that's wanting some 101 Torah study, that's one of the reasons, part of why we're raising this money, is we're making sure that we always have new rabbis available. We recently hired 2 to teach 101. So not only do people have this online content that they can listen to in a more passive way, but if they want that interaction like you've had with Rabbi Yokov Wolbe, just know and let other people know that we have the staff available now to afford every Jew that opportunity to teach 101 and learn 101 with a rabbi. I so appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to come on here and share your story, and we really appreciate your support, Doctor, and wish the best for you and hope you receive lots of blessings for all your support for us. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you for everything you do as head of this organization. So thank you so much.